massive cup of coffee, but sometimes you need that to get through the day, don't you? We're back, and we are still creating conflict. Today we are going to talk about the main way that people actually bring conflict into their novels, and that is with antagonist conflict. Here we are, main crux of the situation here, the antagonist. So today I'm going to run through a few ways that an antagonist can cause conflict to your protagonist, and then in a later video that's not going to be part of this series, I'm actually going to give you some tips on how to write a good antagonist. Opposition. Let's start with a good one, shall we? This means that the antagonist is constantly opposing your protagonist. They might be a partner that's constantly arguing with them, a boss that never sees the good job that they do, a work colleague that's always getting them into trouble, or a sibling that gets away with everything. If your protagonist has a goal that they're working towards, the antagonist's job is to stop them getting to that goal at all costs. The antagonist's job is to shake up the story and to make things difficult. You've got the ally antagonist. This is exactly what the title implies. It's a friend or an ally that ultimately betrays your protagonist, or maybe makes a really bad choice and becomes the opponent in the story. There might be many reasons behind this kind of switcheroo. They could be motivated by jealousy, by circumstance, the situations that they're in, by their past, their desires for the future, or just because they don't see things the same way that your protagonist does. And because of this, they clash and it creates conflict between them. Remember, though, that an antagonist does not have to be a villain. Totally different things. They don't have to be evil and out for blood. They can be a perfectly normal person that's motivated by something like loss, guilt, maybe the need to do good, or any number of things. The antagonist is messing things up for the protagonist. But if you flip it and say that your protagonist is a bad guy, then the antagonist will be the one trying to stop them. Yet they're still doing their job as the antagonist. Writing stories should never be predictable or black and white. We paint with our words, so let's give it some colour, yeah? On the tail of the startling information that your antagonist does not have to be a bad guy, you get to the interfering authority figure antagonist. You know the type. Your protagonist is a good guy, but works outside the law, a vigilante of sorts that's always coming to blows with the cop that's way too good at their job. The ones that are out to stop your protagonist and their constant flouting of the law. It's not that the antagonist hates the protagonist, at least maybe not at first, because they both have different views on morals. The protagonist is all about justice and possibly revenge on those that do wrong, while the antagonist is also for justice, but they believe in the law and the justice system, not their own views on how the world should work. They will do their job and they will do it well. The bad version of this type of antagonist could be a supervisor or a boss who is determined to cut the protagonist down to size and uses their authority against them to make life difficult. That it could be someone that's high up in the council or on government, maybe someone who is pushing through plans to develop on the protagonist's family plot of land, or to knock down a building that's important to the protagonist. The possibilities for this really are endless. The only limit is your imagination. The force of nature antagonist is one who doesn't actually seem to really have a good reason for anything they do. They don't seem to have any motivation for it. To be honest, they're just a bit of a twat. And truly, they are sometimes more dangerous than our next type of villain, the skewed moral antagonist. This would be someone who believes wholeheartedly that they are in the right, that they are the only ones to see things clearly, to see the world as it really is, and it's their job to fix the problems of the world. Think of a dictator that believes he's saving his country, a cult leader that believes he's saving the immortal souls of his followers. Think of a terrorist that has beliefs that go against the rest of the world and who thinks that they're helping by leading the way. Think of a religious order that pushes what we see as intolerance, like homophobia or racism, but to them, they're simply following the teachings of their scripture. The scary thing about these antagonists is that they may do things that we all deem to be evil and wrong, but they aren't a true villain because they believe that they are doing good. It is almost impossible to reason with them. They will never see things from the protagonist's point of view because they cannot see that they're in the wrong. In their eyes, they and the protagonist have switched roles, and your protagonist is the opposing force. And where you cannot reason with them, their motivation is pure and driven by the need to do right, even though to the rest of the world they're doing wrong. Next we have a typical villain, a classic, if you will, one that's malevolent and nasty by nature. They could be power hungry, motivated by malice, greed, the need for control, or even just negative experiences and poor impulse control. Some have a massive ego where they believe that they have the right to do whatever they want, whenever they want, because they're just so damn special. No one else can compare to this character in any way, shape or form. Their ego has well and truly landed, and it has come with a nasty streak a mile wide. And then, lastly, we come to the one that most people don't actually count as an antagonist, but I believe should be included. The internal antagonist. And by this, I don't mean someone that is in the inner circle of the protagonist. That will come under the ally heading. No, I'm talking about the protagonist themselves. This is where the character creates their own conflict, and this can happen in a number of ways. I'm going to go into all of these in detail in the next video, which is protagonist conflict, but I will just touch on it here today. Inner antagonist would include anything that is self-sabotaging, maybe lack of trust, ruined relationships, an addiction that causes trouble. For example, if they were a gambler and they've lost all their money, a house, a partner, and now they must straighten themselves out, overcoming their demons to become a better person. Your protagonist could be plagued with self-doubt, insecurities, anxiety, depression. The list is endless, and it can make for such an interesting twist in your story. That's all I've got time for today. I'm sure there are many other subgenres of antagonist, but I just wanted to cover the basics. I've likely missed a few that you might do. As always, if you have anything that you'd like me to cover in another video, just ask. Don't hesitate to get in touch on any of my social media platforms or in the comments of this video. Until next time, blessed be and happy writing.